want to say welcome. Thanks everyone for being here. How's it going? Are we having a good Thursday?
Exactly. Yeah,
Cool.
we're enjoying the day. Thank you so much for Plug and Play for putting this together.
For sure, yeah, no worries. And I think, something that we've been mentioning kind of throughout this program is that we are, in collaboration with MMSDC and our other partners, trying to bring some of the resources of Plug and Play's ecosystem to underrepresented founders, obviously in Detroit, but elsewhere ideally. I think it should be certainly kind of one of our global focus points. And so I was hoping to, bring you all together. I know that in some way, one way or another, being a founder that doesn't, look or kind of sound or seem like other founders that we see in the Bay Area very often. I think it's an interesting conversation to have, and I'm just, want to bring you all together, and wondering, if throughout the process of building your startup, has being a different founder brought, any sort of like, I guess, any difference in the way that you've looked at building a company or kind of the process of starting a company?
I'll go. So the first thing that comes to mind is just having a perspective on like a firsthand perspective on how diversity does make for better companies and does make for a more robust design conversation, as well as like just the dynamics of what's going on in the company. If you have an entire company of similar ideas, you're limited to what you're going to foresee and what kind of problems you can solve. And the kind of problems that all of us are trying to solve are they're pretty big, important pictures that we need to look at. And so, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that comes to mind for me when I think about that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think building the team is very critical, especially for startups. And I think bringing the right team members to the team, it makes a lot of sense, especially obviously we're all of us solving different problems. And in each one of us is trying to narrow down the problem that we're trying to address. And I think bringing different perspective from a different team members, it makes a big difference. Kind of we have a different, thinking, different thoughts of how we're trying to solve this problem, right? And I think by having that unique team members, I think it makes a big difference in allowing us to kind of bring this solution to the market.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think in the automotive space specifically, it's just a very different type of industry where you need to be very patient, thoughtful, methodical. It's very hard, I think, for startups to have a pilot with an OEM, because kind of with automotive, you really have to have built whatever you want to sell before you go and sell it. And as startups who are trying to get to product market fit or trying to prove a new market, it's just a challenge on top of a challenge, and then bring the whatever setbacks or challenges that come in from the different types of backgrounds and the team, and like in Silicon Valley here, the cost of hiring great talent and the competition with the Googles and Facebooks of the world just makes it even harder. But when you're solving really important big problems that mobility, for example, is not just a basic need. It's almost like a human right. And when you're solving these big problems, it doesn't matter kind of what are the hurdles along the way, because you're working to achieve this greater goal, and you can break these challenges and deliver at the end. Obviously execution, strategy, fundraising, all of those aspects will matter. But at the end of the day, if you have the right North Star, you'll hopefully get there.
Totally fair.
One quick thing I want to just add is I can't amplify enough diversity. I think that invokes a lot of creativity, thinking outside the box, thinking outside the norm. And when you look at places that are fundamentally disruptive and are looking to change the world, you can't just fall in line. You have to look and embrace different thoughts, challenge different status quos. And that comes from an environment where people are accustomed to this, accustomed to having to naturally standing out. So I love it. I love embracing it. I've done that throughout my career. Great question.
For sure. I think this also, something that I've been thinking a lot about is the notion of community for founders, during the pandemic has shifted to be largely virtual. I don't know if you're finding that you're able to reach and connect with other founders who have those different backgrounds, who are working on big problems. Is that something that seems to be, accelerated during the pandemic, or maybe is occurring in different ways than it did before?
Yeah, I think I would go ahead first. I mean, definitely, I think we found it's more convenient for us to connect with more founders, to be honest with you. And not only just with founders, we found it so easy for us also to connect more with customers. Because first of all, we are a software company, so it's so easy for us to remain kind of working from home and supporting our customers. So I definitely found it's more efficient for us that continue to work from home. Obviously, we want to go back to the office anytime sooner, but we found that is that we adapt to the current environment and to the current situation, that we can continue to more focus on building our solution, our technology. Obviously, what Mohammed said is, in automotive, it takes a long time to get your product to the automotive market, especially to OEMs, and get a customer that would be interested in working with you. So I think the remain focused on the product and continue building your solution is very critical before you kind of start talking to as many customers as possible. And as this mentioned, we found it to be have enough time for us to continue focus on the product and to speak with more customers from home.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely shifted the way that we've made connections with other founders in particular. I think it used to be more, we would go to events that were sponsored by our, either locally by our incubators or Clean Tech Center that we're part of, that's NYSERDA sponsored, great events. And it would just be sort of a natural communication, speaking with people that you meet at a networking event. Since COVID, it's become much more focused and intentional. So there's been some new resources that have come about on the local level with some groups that have been meeting with the local Chamber of Commerce. Have been really phenomenal resources through those people. But also, events like this where, we can, do a lot of the same kind of connections, but virtually. And I think, that what I think Assam was speaking to was that we're saving a lot of time with the travel. And so, it's nice that we can still make connections with some of these people, even though we don't have to take the time to travel to the Netherlands or from New York. So, but yeah, so I think, pros and cons to both. We have new tools that I think are, I'd like to continue using and taking advantage of in new groups, but I'd also like to get back to the, the catered parties at the incubator and all of that. That'd be nice.
Absolutely, same thing.
For me, real quick, I think being able to reach internationally quickly has been really, really valuable. Meeting founders from all over the world that traditionally I wouldn't be meeting as a result of this pandemic has been really fruitful, because we're all under the same conditions. So it's like, oh, hey, how about I call? There have been calls at 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, hey, here we are in Romania. This is awesome. This is great. So that's been like as far as like being able to get into different markets in different areas has been great. I will say though that I found particularly in the automotive industry, and maybe I think what Mohammed has been highlighting is that there's a duration of relationship building that is long in the automotive industry, and you need to have long relationships because there's a lot at stake on the supply side and on the purchasing side. It's like they're making a bet on you. Are you going to be able to survive the next couple of years? You're telling me that you have a runway of 6 months. I can't take that risk with my career. So there's so at the other side, it's like there's this relationship building depth that I feel has been lacking and as a challenge that we're facing as a result of this remote networking that's been going on, because I can just easily forget that this happened and move on to a bunch of different other things that I'm doing.
For sure. For sure. I think these are all awesome insights, and I really appreciate you all coming on stage and sharing. And I think specifically for Eric, there may be one question in the Q&A that you can answer. I think we'll take a look at it, but we are going to move right along. A huge thank you to all of you, to Mohammed, Assam, Romy, and Eric for joining us. And we'll catch you later.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Have a great day. Stay safe out there.
Everyone,
Everybody.
take care. Bye-bye.